Hey, I just wanted to take a few minutes and share something that's been on my heart and my mind for quite a while now, but now just feels like the right time to share it. I know that this is a bit controversial, but I pray that something that I say will resonate with you and assist you to make some mental shifts so that you can feel more peace in your family. So I've noticed throughout the years that there is a pretty big divide in the autism community, a divide that I don't really think we can afford to have, because ultimately we all want to have happy and healthy children. And so this divide is between those that hold the perspective of autism recovery and those that hold the perspective of celebrating neurodiversity. And so they're a bit polar opposites. So I'm going to define them for you. So those that support recovering autism look mostly at autism as a physiological condition. And they work very hard to support the body physically so that it can heal. And the ultimate goal is to have a neurotypical experience. And yes, that's pretty stereotypical, but that's just the definition I'm going to use. So there's people that have differing opinions of that as well. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum are those that support celebrating neurodiversity. And the neurodiversity perspective is that everyone has a unique brain and that neurodivergent individuals are very important and throughout time have changed the world. They're the innovators. And so they have the perspective that autism is not a problem to be fixed, and that we get to find ways to assist them to communicate and to support them in the world. So yes, they're pretty opposite, and I know that this debate between them can get pretty heated, and I've watched people get really offended when people have differing opinions. But I'm just going to share my perspective with you about how taking aspects of both perspective, I feel, is the road to set you up to have a happier and healthier child and to have more peace in your family, which is something that we all want. So just to give you a little backstory, I used to be 100% in the recovery mindset. 100%. I was really focused on lack, and that resulted in me feeling sad, exhausted, and fearful most of the time. And I know this is not the case with everybody in this mindset. I know people that don't experience the emotions that I did, but this was my experience. I had a couple of really rude awakenings that helped me see just how miserable I was and just how miserable my whole family was. And I had a Facebook friend, we met at an event actually, and she 100% embraces the perspective of embracing and celebrating neurodiversity. She has a son about my age, and I don't like this label, but people out there would label him as having more challenges than my son. And she was happy, and her son was happy, and I didn't 100% agree with their philosophy, but I really wanted to feel happy. And so I started digging a little bit deeper, and I started following people with autism and reading their things and reading their blogs and reading what they wrote. Like Temple Grandin was the first one that I followed, and I loved reading her books, and I love her perspectives. It's so refreshing to see somebody talking about the positive aspects of autism and how people with autism can change the world. I started following Matteo Musso. His books changed my life. I started following Joao Juan Carlos and Not Rain Girl and the Autistic Psychic and people like that. And most of these people are nonverbal, which is really interesting. And if they became verbal, it was usually later in life. I also really liked following Agony Auti as well. Just really life-changing for me. And I started to see that the autistic mind itself could be very beautiful in how they perceive the world, and that there are gifts, that there are hidden gifts, and I believe that every person with autism actually has a gift. We just have to create the environment so that that gift can grow and blossom and be able to look for that gift. So I noticed as my perspective was shifting out of lack that I was happier, and my son was happier. Our whole family of 5 was happier. And so now you might be thinking, But Andrea, there are physical aspects to autism. There are physical issues. And you are 100% right. And we are going to talk about that here in a minute. But I just want to give you a new perspective here, and it's something that might change your world. And that is to remind you of the truth that physical healing, if that is your main goal, physical healing is much more likely to happen when an individual feels 100% seen and supported. Physical healing is much more likely to happen when a person feels joyful, happy, and there's laughter. And you might be thinking, Andrea, well, there's nothing joyful in my life. There is nothing to laugh about in my life. There's nothing to be happy about in my life. And I hear you. I used to feel the exact same way. And yes, it's going to take some healing. It's going to take some work. It's going to take letting go of guilt and sorrow and shame and self-punishment to be able to get to that place. But there are some things to celebrate and to look look for the positive, and you can find it. I noticed that my child and children that I worked with started thriving when we step out of looking at them as broken and start looking at them with respect. So Matteo Musso, one of the individuals I mentioned, he says he looks at his autism and his OCD and sensory issues as separate. And this was the first time I ever heard about this. He said that he loves the way his autistic mind thinks and his way of being, but he really struggles with the anxiety and sensory issues, and he wishes that those could shift. And then I started realizing so many people feel this way. Agony Audie feels this way. Not Rain Girl feels this way. So many people with autism feel this way, the autistic psychic. And they love and celebrate their neurodiversity, but they wish that their physiological or some of their challenges could be lessened or be able to be overcome. And this perspective was life-changing to me. And I just realized what a healthier way to look at this, where we can look and celebrate someone's uniqueness and differences while at the same time being able to support them physically. And I feel like this is 100% possible because those co-conditions, those physical conditions are very real. People with autism are more susceptible to heavy metal toxicity and pathogen toxicity, autoimmune issues, methylation issues, allergies, just to name a few of them. And I feel like it's very important to address these physical aspects, because when somebody is struggling or suffering physically, or when their brain feels like it's on fire, or when they have self-injurious behaviors, or when they have seizures, that person cannot thrive. That person is so difficult for them to share and to shine and to show their gifts with the world. And so I feel like this is where both perspectives walk hand in hand, where we can celebrate the neurodivergent brain and the mind and the way it thinks and the gifts, but at the same time treating the physiology, the pathology, and they can be separate. And that is the key here. And also I wanted to give you another tip that maybe you haven't thought of. Pathogens, which so many of our autistic individuals are susceptible to, pathogens have a much harder time surviving in someone with a high vibration, because pathogens are low vibration. So how do you help your child to raise their vibration so the pathogens, it's easier to clear them? So I found the main way to help your child raise their vibration and to raise the vibration of your whole family is to follow your child's interests and to celebrate their interests. Really begin to see your child and listen to them. And you'll notice some shifts, I promise you. So what does a combination of a recovery mindset and a celebrating neurodiversity mindset look like? And I feel like this is your best chance to achieve a healthy and happy environment in your home. So I feel like it's important to, number one, hold your child in an energy of respect. And I have on my Healing Special Families Facebook page a visualization about being able to connect with your child's higher self, to be able to see them and to be able to ask them what they would like their next step to be in their physical healing. And this is key. This changed everything for my family. And then with that, respect your child and the answers that you get, because your child knows what they need physically. And then as you're looking for doctors and maybe homeopaths or practitioners to work with your child, be very particular about who you let work with your child. Choose doctors and professionals who look at your child as whole, who respect your child and that their child knows what they need. Avoid doctors and practitioners that look at your child as broken, because our children are actually very, very sensitive to that energy, and they can pick up when a practitioner or a provider looks at them as broken. Another thing that's important is to spend more time celebrating your child's interests than you do focusing on researching and fixing them. As much as possible, focusing on physically healing your whole family so your child doesn't feel singled out. Look for the gifts, both your child's and your gifts. Take time to develop your own gifts and talents. Create in yourself the emotional state that you are desiring for your child. I have so many parents say, I just want my child to be happy. And I always ask them back, well, are you happy? Because you are modeling the environment for them. So always begin with your own healing. This way, you are holding your child in the energy that is most conducive to physical healing. And both you and your child will be happier. And you'll feel more connected with your child. You'll feel your relationship with your child beginning to shift. You will follow your child's lead and be able to let them help you to heal your whole family. So in today's day and age, I don't feel like we can afford to have division in the autism community. We all want happy and healthy children, and this is our common ground. And I feel like celebrating our unique children while supporting them physically is the best and most effective way to achieve the health, happiness, and peace we are all seeking. This is possible, and I pray that something that I shared with you resonates with you today, and that you can feel a shift in your child and in your family, and that we can mend this gap, bridge this gap in the autism community. And so I'm sending you tons of love today, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.